I have a new book idea, but before I can start writing it, I really need to figure out what makes my main character tick. So I'm going to be spending 100 minutes delving into my character's psyche, figuring out what she wants and what she's afraid of and what lies she believes about the world so that I can write a more compelling main character. And then also, how will the answer to these questions drive the rest of the story? Armed with some sticky notes, Sharpies, and a wall/window, I am going to brainstorm and work on getting this character figured out. There are a million ways to write a book, but if you're curious about the book writing process, here is a sneak peek into one of the ways that you could go about it. Hopefully this brings you some clarity and inspires you to embark on your own writing journey. I originally wrote this as a short story back when I was in college, and so I have an idea of the arc of external plot, but I really want to be able to get into the internal plot as well. So I'm just going to take a minute and use some of these sticky notes and write out the main events that happen, and then we can start layering.
Watching away from the light that I knew.
Here we have the basic outline in broad strokes of the story. We've got Claire and her dad going stargazing at night, watching the sheep. During that time, the dad tells her her favorite story about the man on the moon and the stars and the Skyland and all that stuff. Then in classic Disney fashion, I kill the dad. Well, I don't kill the dad, wolves kill the dad. And then it's 3 years later, her mom gets sick. So then Claire decides to go to the land of the sky to get a wishing star from the man on the moon, where she sets out to do that. And then all the rest of this happens. But I think we're going to really stick to the beginning of the story, just because that's like when all of these character moments, you kind of want to see them be built up, understanding who she is and what she wants. And then the rest of the story is her working towards it. So these things may shift and change. I should put some key points for the story as well. The inciting incident, the midpoint, the climax, and the resolution. I've definitely given you much more of the information at the front of the book because I don't want to
Spoilers.
So here's what we already know about Claire, is she lives with her father and mother at the very beginning of the book. The main part of the story happens when she's 8 or 9. Her father is a shepherd. She loves listening to stories. She's got a good relationship with her family, with her parents, with her brother. Oh yes, she has a brother. I need to figure out what makes Claire tick, what she wants, what she's afraid of, what her arc will be. So I'm going to start with kind of brainstorming what she's afraid of. So I think that the intro events with her dad are going to be very formative. They are going to shape how she sees the world and herself. So she is probably going to be very afraid of the forest and of wolves. When her mom gets sick, she's going to be very afraid of losing her mom because she's already lost her dad. She thinks that she won't be able to be happy if her mom dies. The grief from her dad's death, I don't think it's ever left her. She hasn't fully come to terms with it. The wolves kill the dad while she and her dad are out at night stargazing, and she's listening to a story. Why is she out there with him? She loves listening to stories and stargazing with him. Maybe she feels guilty. Maybe she feels that if she wasn't out there with him, he would have lived. I like that. She feels guilty for her dad's death. I'm gonna write that down. She's afraid that it's her fault. I'm not sure how that's gonna all come together, but I definitely think she feels some measure of guilt for her dad's death. And then maybe when her mom gets sick, she feels guilty for that too. We can make her guilty for it. What if she got sick first? Claire gets sick. Her mom's taking care of her. Her mom gets sick. And now Claire feels that not only did she cause her dad's death, she's causing her mom's death. So she has to make it right. She has to go on this adventure. There's just no way she could live with herself if she didn't. She fears her mom's death. She grieves her dad's death, though not very well. She sees it as a stealer of joy. So like ever since her dad died, her mom has never been quite like the same. She doesn't think that her mom has been happy. And so she thinks that if her mom dies, she'll never be happy again. Even though she's kind of already never been happy again since her dad died. So she's afraid of not being happy. Ooh, hummingbird. She's afraid of grief, of sorrow. I think she would definitely run from grief. She's not going to confront it. So she runs from grief. That's something about her, which I think would add into this. So instead of like coming to terms with the fact that like the doctor says there's nothing they can do for her anymore and that her mom's probably going to die, instead of facing it, she's going to go on this outlandish, literally, adventure quest to try and save her mom. She runs from grief. She's afraid of grief. She's incapable of facing grief. I'm still not sure that afraid of grief, like grief is a fear, but I don't know, kind of. And then she wants, I feel like the want would kind of be something on the opposite end of that. She wants to be happy. So she wants a wishing star to save her mom, to keep her family together, because she misses her dad, because the last time that they were all happy was when they were all together. She believes she can never be happy without her parents. She believes it's her fault that her dad died. She wants her mom to be happy. That's what she wants, because I think she thinks that if she can make her mom happy, it'll absolve her of her guilt that she feels for her dad dying, and then she can move on with her life. Then she can let this whole thing kind of go. So I think she's running from her own grief. She's afraid of her own grief. She wants to see her mom happy. She doesn't believe that her mom has been fully happy ever since her dad died, but it's probably actually her projecting. She doesn't realize this, obviously, but we realize it, is that her mom will have grieved and come to terms. I don't think you ever stop grieving someone that you love, but her mom will have grieved. But she has not grieved, and so she cannot see the moments where her mom happens to feel actually joyful again, where her mom has healed and recovered. She can't see it. So kind of the lie or the arc of her story is going to be, in the beginning she believes it's her fault her dad's dead, and she has to work hard to make it up to her family, especially her mom. She's got to make it up to her mom. And I think she thinks that the moment that will fix it is when she sees her mom happy again. But she can't see her mom happy again until she deals with her own grief. So really she has to deal with her own grief, and then she'll be able to see that her mom has mourned her husband but come to terms with it, that she doesn't blame Claire, and Claire doesn't have to blame herself. The truth she has to learn is it's not her fault, it wasn't her responsibility, and sometimes things are out of your control. Whew. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I need to write this down. What she needs to learn. She needs to face her grief. I feel like there's still something deeper that she's actually afraid of in her grief, but we'll get to that. She will not let herself move on until she sees her mom happy again. Cool. She's afraid. Okay, I still feel like there's a nugget at the center of her fear. I think there's something about she's afraid it will never end. She doesn't want to face her grief because she's afraid she won't be able to handle it, or that it'll be too much for her. She doesn't like the feeling. I think she's afraid if she faces her own grief, it will overwhelm her and there will be no end to it. I'll say that. So we have these points, and now I want to shape some of these events to really make that clear and make it highlight this state of mind a bit, so that as you start going through the rest of the story, it makes sense where she's coming from and you really get connected to the character. So let's see. For her guilt with her dad, how can I make that juicier? Maybe she had a bad dream. Her dad had just gotten back. She had a bad dream. So he takes her out and tells her favorite story, which is kind of like a tradition for them. Because being out there and telling a favorite story is a tradition. I already have that sense, but maybe they're going out this time because she had a bad dream. And then everything else happens. And so she feels like if she hadn't been such a baby for having the bad dream and not being able to deal with it, they would have never been out there. Her dad wouldn't have died. Claire has bad dream. Claire has a bad dream, so that's why they're out. For the main part of the story, she's 8 or 9, and I want it to be about a 3-year difference between the beginning and the main part, so that these thoughts and feelings will have really had a chance to sink deep. Poor Claire. So she would be then 5 or 6 at the beginning of the book. Probably 6. Let's say 6. So she's 6 and 9. And then her brother, at the funeral, I think her brother is gonna be sad and probably say something about her being a baby. And that's why dad's dead. Because he's in the middle of his grief. And he's not that much older than her. Brother blames it on her. So I also think that she hates the forest. She hates the forest. She's terrified of wolves. She doesn't like going into the forest. She's just kind of afraid. But she goes in anyway, all the time. She's helping, she's working so hard to help out with the chores and with their livelihood, because the main worker is dead. And so everyone kind of has to pick up that slack a little bit. And so she's terrified of the forest, but she goes anyway because she's more afraid of never seeing her mom happy again. And she kind of just thinks if I work hard enough or do something extravagant enough, eventually her mom will be happy. And kind of by extension, her grief will go away. So she's out there frequently. Maybe that's why she gets sick. She overworks herself. And then her mom tends to her. So her mom gets sick, but not better. Doc gives At which point Claire says, no, I'm not going to sit down and accept this. I'm going to run away from home, run away from where the grief is, and go find something to make it better. I think if we're going to play up on this idea of grief, then I would want, like, what does her brother think about her leaving in this time of crisis? She runs away from feeling grief. She also doesn't want to cause grief. Some of the decisions she's going to make are going to cause actively other people's grief while she's trying to run away from the grief she believes she's caused. So maybe her brother doesn't want her to go. Her brother is afraid of being left alone in this world because if she goes off to goodness knows where's and then his dad's dead and his mom dies, who does he have left in the world? So her brother begs her not to go. And then in this like mythology that I'm making for this place, you've got the world, and then you have the land of the sky, and the man on the moon sails around in his sailboat, which is the moon that you see. The stars are like his sheep, so he shepherds the stars across the sky every night. When she goes and asks for one of his sheep, giving her a star would cause him grief. Who else? So there's a doctor. There's probably like a village, not quite witch, like herbalist. She goes to kind of the village potioneer just to be like, can you do anything? And if not, how do I get to the land of the sky? Because I don't think it should be a very easy place to get to. It's a real place. People believe it. They tell stories about it. Everyone kind of knows. Everyone kind of believes that it's up there. But you don't go there unless it's the most desperate quest and you're probably willing to die. So she's gonna go there first. Lady cannot help and won't give answers. She says something. Some things you can't change. I think the punk kid, the one who bullied her as a kid, they're both still kids, but when she was much younger, might reach out to her and be like, hey, I want to help. And so she's not sure if she can trust him yet, but she's kind of willing to try anything. So she listens to him and he gives her some very vague instructions that he says will help her get to where she needs to go. I think part of the reason she's so afraid of her mom dying is that if her mom dies, she will never see her mom happy in the way that she needs to be able to move on. She will never be able to escape the grief. I think she thinks she can outrun it or outwork it, and then she'll never have to fully feel it if she can fix it. I'd like to think about this story in my short story version of this. It was kind of this mythology that inspires this whole story. It's a fun mythology, and I think I want it to be conveyed. I've been thinking about a parallel story where someone goes up, like how do the people know that this place is true? And I think it's going to be part of not just distant mythology, but more on their history. A little bit closer like King Arthur, but even closer. Maybe more like a George Washington for us Americans. I think there will be this like very famous story. There could be like this knight from their history, well known, well documented, but like held in very high esteem. So one of the knights, so I think it's like a little bit of a feudal place, was in some battle, was grievously injured. The story is that he went to the land of the sky, but in a moment of need for their whole country will be coming back. But I would like a way, if grief is a major theme in this book, how do we implement it into that story? Maybe he loved someone and there's like a song. Ooh. So maybe there's a story told a little bit more from the woman's perspective who loses her true love. And in like a desperate plea, they send him to the land of the sky, hoping that they can like fix him and send him back. So when her dad's telling the story, it's actually singing this song, telling the story of this great love, about the woman losing the love of her life, her unending tears, capturing her grief in the whole situation, but then also kind of lays the groundwork for the mythology of the land of the sky at the same time. The only downside is that I don't frequently read every word of the long songs when they're in books. I have a tendency to skim them. So if I'm giving critical information, I'm gonna have to find a way to emphasize it or reiterate it or like break it up. Maybe she's interrupting. I like that for a few reasons, because when we talk about endless tears of a woman, the grief for that never truly goes away. But there's also a bit of hyperbole. It's not actual endless tears. And yet, as a young girl, Claire loved this story. She found it so moving and beautiful and kind of hauntingly sad. And I think it influences her view of grief. Part of why she's afraid of facing her grief is because she believes that true grief, which she is feeling or running from, will never end. And so why bother feeling it at all if there is no relief in any measure, even over time. I think that could be an influence. I'll just have to be very masterful in how I put that together. Wish me luck. It'll stretch me as a writer, for sure. We'll see what happens. Where else can we weave this theme through it? Ooh, at the funeral. Ooh, okay, here we go. At the funeral, seeing her mom's grief makes her connect her mom's grief to the song. Where is this? So she connects that there. And I think there is where she's going to make some sort of pact with herself to make it right. That is kind of where she gets this idea. She's like, oh no, this kind of love leads to unending tears. It's my fault. She's feeling this. I have to fix it and make her happy again. This isn't going to be her fate. She's not going to have unending tears. I think of the real history of this legend. The lady who was engaged to this knight or married to the knight and then loses him. She eventually falls in love again and gets married. She does get happiness again, but that's not as good for poetry, so it's omitted and she will learn it later. Okay, hold on. Truthful story of knight. I think she's gonna meet the knight when she goes to the land of the sky. I think I'm off to a good start. I like the progress I made in understanding my main character, weaving that theme into a few different places, establishing where she's getting these ideas about the world. So I hope that kind of seeing my thought process and my brainstorming was helpful to you in some way. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a like and subscribe. As a new channel, that really helps me out, and then it also helps other people out because they have a higher chance of finding this video and having it help them out as well. I love a good story, and the best story in the world is written by the author of life, and it's the story of Jesus. And he loves you, and I do too.